Hi, and welcome to Coaching Voices Podcast. I'm Pravin Sharma, an executive and leadership coach and consultant with over 2 decades of experience in the industry. I truly believe in the transformative power of coaching and the profound impact it can have on people's lives. In each episode, we dive into candid conversations with seasoned coaches, exploring what coaching really is and whether it's the right path for you. Together, we uncover how you can unlock your full potential and step confidently into leadership roles within your organization. Joining me today is Carrie Sackett, coach trainer, and supervisor, speaker, and internationally published author. She has built her own coaching business, ZPD Coaching, by focusing on group, couples, and family work. For over 25 years, Carrie has been practicing a boldly transformative approach to emotional wellness and personal growth in the coach's chair and outside the coach's office as a Fortune 500 global change leader and award-winning employee engagement professional. In 2024, her book, Social Therapeutic Coaching, A Practical Guide to Group and Couples Work, was published by prestigious global press Routledge, and her articles have appeared in Choice, the magazine of professional coaching and coaching perspectives. She has appeared on numerous podcasts and delivers the talk, Why We All Feel So Lonely and What Can We Do About It, at conferences, universities, and community-based organizations. Carrie trains coaches in breakthrough tools and techniques that empower clients to break out of their inner mental loop and create the lives they want. So, without further ado, please welcome Carrie Sackett to our show. Hi, Carrie. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Pravin. It's great to be with you.
It's great to have you here, and thank you for taking the time to join our call. To start, I would love to hear more about your background in coaching, and if you could also share a bit about your journey.
Sure. Well, as a young woman, I went looking for innovators in human development. This was after college. And I ended up training with the founders of Social Therapeutics right in the time when coaching was being developed. And I had completed my training and I was on my way to having a practice. Social Therapeutics it's a group-based approach to emotional well-being and personal growth. And it empowers clients to build meaningful connection and that sense of community and belonging that we are all looking for. Uh-huh. And I got trained in this really advanced, incredible approach. But I was too young. I couldn't imagine sitting in the same chair in the same room all day long with folks. And so I wanted to keep being out in the world and learning. And I went into the corporate world, and to my delight, I discovered that the social therapeutic approach carried strongly into global change management, which is what I built my career on, and employee engagement initiatives, which are, by the way, groups, employees as a whole. It's a giant group, companies, and even Adam Grant today, at Wharton Business School, is saying that the unit within companies is the team. That's where to look. So I was kind of a pioneer in global change management and employee engagement and had a great career. And then, I got older and the possibility of sitting all day seemed more appealing. And I went back to my roots, really. And I started seeing clients on the side, and then was able to build a full-time coaching practice, ZPD Coaching, where I specialize in group work and team coaching. And that led to me writing a book about this approach and really practicalizing social therapeutic coaching and making it accessible to all kinds of coaches, no matter what kind of work they're doing. And then that led me to training coaches and group and team practitioners who want to learn this approach.
That's really great. In your book, The Social Therapeutic Coaching, you provide tools for transformation. What was the most challenging part of translating your methodology into a written format?
That's a great question. And the hardest part was to put down into words snippets of coaching sessions in ways that would help the reader see the social therapeutic method. Because when you think about coaching, there's a lot, it's all process. If we're fully present as coaches in our work, we're not knowing. Things are emerging and we're building and creating, co-creating with our clients. And it's very hard to capture the magic of that work and put it into words and condense it into one particular moment. But it turns out that my years in the corporate world and all the communications that I ran for all of those projects has made me really good at zeroing in on a teachable moment, if you will. And so there's over 30 practical examples in the book, and there's snippets of scenes from group sessions and couples sessions. And I believe, and what the professionals that I'm training are telling me, is that those examples are concrete enough for them to be really excited by the possibilities of what social therapeutics has to offer.
You mentioned about couple settings in coaching. What does that couple settings mean?
Oh, meaning that I work with couples. I do relationship coaching with both. Relationship. Okay. Or the family coaching that I do includes all the family members all at once. And they might be children or they might be, grown adult children.
That's really exciting, actually. Yeah. I mean, think about it like, you're coaching a whole family. I mean, how cohesive is that?
Yeah, very powerful.
Now, let me ask you about this global change management and employee engagement. What does that mean?
Well, oftentimes, companies have strategic goals and they are looking for ways to affect those goals. And oftentimes it means different lines of business or different functions working together to achieve the goal. And generally, there are obstacles to achieving those goals, institutional obstacles, operational obstacles, and cultural obstacles. And what I did was overcome those obstacles. My expertise is bringing together people who don't normally come together, or in the business world don't want to come together. To create and to discover that they can create something together, do something new, and build up that sense of team with a shared interest and vision and a we-ness that is needed in order to move projects forward.
When we're talking about the change management, John Kotter, you know John Kotter, right?
Of course.
It's absolutely, it's a big name. You talk about Adam Grant as well. These are the big names in the leadership front. There are certain ways that John has described, I think, leading a change in his book, that if you follow these steps, then you're going to be successful in organizational change management. Do you follow that practice as well, or do you have a different way of managing the change management?
Well, honestly, I prefer to not do that question because I don't remember Cotter's work enough to really answer it.
It's all good. It's all good.
No, I know,
because I'm really
right
I'm really big on John Kotter as well as Adam Grant, right? Brene Brown and Simon Sinek and all those people who are in the leadership front, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, when you brought Adam Grant, I was really pumped up. So I was like, okay, you definitely know about this global change management. So, I mean, from the Kotter point of view. Yeah.
Yeah. Simon Sinek was my professor when I got my master's.
Really? He was? I didn't know.
Yeah. Yes. So what I appreciate about what these folks are saying, and others are saying too, like David Brooks out of the New York Times. I mean, really what this comes down to methodologically is shifting away from the isolated individual model of seeing people. That's a very American way of understanding who we are. David Brooks has said, hey, we've gone too far with individualism. Now we have hyper individualism. It's getting in the way of our capacity to build connections and intimacy with each other. As I said, Adam Grant has really great sensibilities on this. And that actually where we need to look is our interactions, that our emotionality, for example, is interwoven into our interactions with others. So there's the beginnings of the hot shots seeing and calling out that the place to look in order to affect growth is not deeper inside of ourselves, but actually out into our relations with others. And I so appreciate that they're calling that out, because the method of social therapeutics is how to do it. So people are starting to see, hey, this is what we need to do. And I'm saying, hey, I've got this great toolkit, so we can do it. A toolkit with a proven track record.
What is the biggest lesson you have learned in your 25 years of career, both personally and professionally, regarding the social therapeutics?
I would say the biggest lesson has been to be grounded in not knowing.
Grounded in knowing. Okay, knowing.
No, grounded in not knowing.
Not knowing. Okay, got it.
Yeah. The two strongest cultural biases we have is that individualism that I was just speaking about. And we have a cognitive bias in our culture that we should know. We should know before something happens what's going to happen. We should know the right answer. We have a lot of shoulds around knowing. And even when you sit in the coach's chair, we can feel that pull. Even though our job is to be co-creators with the client, we live in such a knowing culture that we can feel that pull to know what's really going on for the client, for example. That was the hardest thing to give up, and to really stay present in the moment, not going with assumptions, checking those assumptions out with the client if need be, and staying in that not knowing place so that we can see what's emerging in the session, in between us, interwoven in between the people involved. And once you get a taste of not knowing, it's really transformative and powerful. So, of course, this is also what I'm helping my clients do. And it's also how I train coaches, is to support them and help them notice when they're going into knowing mode so they can stop and, again, look outward.
You mentioned should. I think should is more of knowing yourself ahead of time, right? That particular knowing yourself ahead of time, it's there, but people do not realize it. And it's some sort of like awakening. Somebody has to tell you, oh, you should have done that. You should have do that. All those kind of things. How do you practice yourself so that that particular, quote unquote, should be known to you ahead of time, so that you don't go into that rabbit hole saying, oh, okay, what is it? How is it? And all those kind of things, right? Instead of just like finding, Did you get the question?
I think so. And I think it's a really good question. And I think the short answer is I don't.
Okay. It's okay. All right.
But what I do what I do, and these are the muscles that I support my clients to develop, is to create that ability to create with whatever is emerging. Because when we get better at being able to create with what's coming our way, that it's harder to get into should land. We're so present. We're so listening for the offer. It could even be a messy offer. It could be a terrible offer from a colleague. You know, you have to stay late on Friday night and finish this project. But how do I create with that rather than react to it?
Got it. Okay. Let me talk about the impact and transformation based on your work here.
Mm-hmm.
You work with individuals who are facing anxiety, social anxiety, sort of loss, loneliness. You know, these are the words that are pretty much out there. How do you help those people or your clients to move beyond the fear of vulnerability to build stronger relationship?
Yeah. Love that question. Well, as I mentioned, social therapeutics is a group-based approach. And I do work one-on-one with clients, but anyone who's done group work or been in groups can appreciate how powerful they are, because there are more people around, more different points of view, different people see different things, have different emotional responses. So I bring my clients into my life development groups pretty early on in the coaching work. So where I do the bulk of my work is actually outside of the corporate space. I do team coaching, but as a professional and to build up a sustainable business, where I've chosen to plant my flag is in the life and relationship space, and specifically leading life development groups. Different people, different walks of life, different issues they want to grow around. And people come into group and discover it's a place where they can try out, this speaks especially to social anxiety and loneliness, where they can try out different ways of speaking, of feeling. They can practice giving what's going on for them in the moment in group, which goes back to our discussion on shoulds. So rather than getting caught in an internal loop of what I should be saying right now or what I didn't say and I should have said and instead we create an environment together in the group where it's permissible for people to try out saying what's actually going on for them in the moment. I feel anxious. I feel distant from the group. I'm having a reaction to so-and-so. I need help because I'm furious right now and I feel like screaming. Whatever it is, that becomes the offer that we build with in the group. And that's how people grow, and that's how they break through those blocks around social anxiety and loneliness. And this then goes back to what I was saying around the groupness, the growing recognition that we are a social species. We live in groups already. We just don't see that we do. We are not walking down the street as isolated individuals with our own little loops. That's the sort of common way. If you walk down the street, that would be the common way of seeing all the other people on the street, that they're their own little individuals with their own individual problem and their own this and their own that. But actually, they're that, and we're all part of this species. So, it's that doing those activities with others in group that turbocharges transformation and growth. So if you look at the loneliness crisis,
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
tell you, the experts will say, Harvard did their study, even the Attorney General has spoken on the crisis and loneliness. They'll say, all the studies show 1 in 5 Americans feel, lonely often or very often. And then they'll follow that up with, well, the way you conquer loneliness is you, go talk to a stranger or, take a pill. That's always an option. Or go do something that you're passionate about and join a club, do it with others. So I'm all for talking to strangers, doing what you love with others, and notice that those prescriptions are based on the assumption that we are isolated individuals and that I, as an individual, should do these individual things to conquer loneliness. But actually, if 1 in 5 Americans are feeling lonely, that's a social crisis. And we are a social species. Therefore, the way to tackle this issue is with a social method, a group-based approach. And so that's why the work that I do in social therapeutic coaching is so powerful. And that's why coaches are coming to me to be trained, because learning how to shift into the we lens. I mean, me never goes away, and I'm not advocating that it should go away, but we can add a lens. We can add the we lens, and that is an incredibly powerful, nourishing, transformative lens to be able to adopt.
Got it. You mentioned 1 in 5. If that data is correct, we're talking about 20% of the population are suffering with this loneliness.
Yeah.
Which is really huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And you think about it, COVID was called an epidemic.
Yeah. Yep.
And by science's term, an epidemic is when something hits 3% of the population. And we're talking 20%.
That number is really staggering. Let's talk about some of the challenges in coaching and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help your corporate clients bridge the gap between the employee engagement metrics and the emotional connection within the teams?
It's a good question. And when it comes to employee engagement, there have to be more metrics than survey results. Mm-hmm. You have to have the anecdotal, the qualitative data mm-hmm. to help bridge that gap. You can't do it by numbers alone. So, for example, it's a fabulous story, really.
Do we have time for it? Go for it.
No, let's keep going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Ask me another question.
Okay. Let's talk about the challenges also, based on your personal, right? Significant challenges as a practitioner like you faces when working with. What I'm trying to understand is the differentiation here, the challenges here, working for a group, couples, families, mm-hmm. versus the individual one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what are the challenges that you foresee, and how do you prepare? Like, for instance, right, when you go in a group setting, you probably have a different mindset on how to coach them, how to get them prepared, how to do that transformation to them, because in a group people have so many different mentality. Whereas when you work with one particular individual, then the way that you want to approach is a little different, is because now you can make it more kind of based on what's going on with that particular individual. So it's a challenge to itself, that going from group to individual, right? So let's talk about some of the significant challenges that you have faced when working with group families and individuals.
Well, the way I approach all my work actually is relationally. So a major relational question is, how are we doing? So you take that question in family work, and that question might be, who's on the side of the family? In couples work, what does the relationship need? In group work, how are we doing? How's the group doing? And in individual work, the relationship coach and client is really important. So I bring that question in to my clients in individual work. How are we doing? How is this for you to be doing this with me? So that's the way that I keep a we lens on, even in individual work. And that's how flexible the social therapeutic method is. That's why it's in companies, it's in education, it's in coaching, it's in therapy, it's in the medical world, it's in community organizing, because of its capacity to ask those kinds of relational questions.
When you're coaching somebody as an individual, or let's talk about the individual, right?
Okay.
Has it ever occurred to you that this person comes back to you, and there are two sides of it. This person comes back to you and said, like, Carrie, it's not working for me. I'm sorry, I'm gonna quit. That's one aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, like, the other individual would be, Carrie, I mean, we signed up for 6 session. I want to go for another 6 session, right? Meaning like it's working for that individual.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Have you encountered these kind of different realities in your coaching career?
Absolutely. Yeah. And question is similar to both of them. Mm-hmm. Oh, it would be really helpful to me to hear what wasn't working for you, if you'd be open to sharing that. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, that's fabulous. What has been working for you in our work together?
So these individuals who quits ahead of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think they're quitting? I mean, many people have different way of saying that, well, this is the reason that I quit. Maybe, it impacted their life in a different way, that, they wanted to go to college, whatever. They don't have no time, all those kind of things. There are so many different things. Whatever it is out there, right? Do you ever go back and ask them that, hey, I was just wondering to see, why did you quit? Do you ever have that kind of conversation with that individual? Or is like, somebody wants to quit, let him quit, let her quit, that kind of thing?
Well, I can give you examples. So my groups are ongoing groups. They meet weekly, ongoingly. Mm-hmm. So it's most developmental for the clients, and it's also a sustainable revenue stream for coaches. Mm-hmm. And, people will come into group and say, someone might come into group and say, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And myself and people in the group might say, oh my God, you've grown so much. Your life, life has transformed. Now you have a great job and you're in this wonderful relationship, and we're so proud of you. And, good luck. Mm-hmm. Come back when you need us again. That's one way that looks. Or people in the group or myself might say, I disagree with your decision. I think that I think there's more growing to do here, and would love for you to stay or come back. You have an open invitation to come back at any time. And that's similar. That would be similar how I would work in individual work. In the corporate space, it's different because coaching sessions can be mandated. And that's
what I was getting to. Yeah. I mean,
it's its own issues. And that's why I do most of my coaching out. I choose to, and I've been successful in building my own business outside of that dynamic. So I tend to work with people who are really open to growing and want to grow.
When I see the corporation, and when I see the people who are coming from that corporation for a coaching, what I've seen is like somehow they've been mandated, as you said. They've been, I don't know if forced is the right word or no, right?
Yeah.
Um, and the element of coaching, they would not like it. I mean, they're just there for because they've been asked to go there and
Yeah.
get the coaching, you know. So when that happens without your preference, meaning now your preference has been cut down, you have to follow what's been told to do, and that brings some kind of like, well, you know, I'm just gonna go there, try to get it done, whatever it is, you know, I'm not interested in that kind of thing. So you lose that momentum and you're not present in that coaching as well. I mean, you're just going to be like, well, gibberish. Yeah, okay, I'm fine, you know, nothing, that kind of thing. So that's the difference between as need versus, you know, it's a forced event, right? Um, as a coach, do you, when you're coaching these individuals, do you foresee these kind of like similar, not these kind of individuals that come to your coaching? As a coach, do you see that kind of pattern? And if you do, then how do you address that pattern?
I do see that. And in the spirit of giving what's going on for me in the moment, I might say to that client, I'm picking up that you might not really be into this.
Yeah.
So I'm giving what I'm experiencing and asking, and then they might, whatever they say and blah, blah, blah. And then I might say, well, okay, so given that you don't want to be here, which thank you for sharing, what would you like us to be doing together? How do we want to do this together, given that you have to be here and you don't want to be here? What can we do together with that?
It's a journey. So, you know, they have to understand it's a journey. It's not like you are dragging them to go somewhere. It's like, let's go together. Let's get it done together. So togetherness should be there, I would say, right?
Right. That's the relationality.
That's the relation. Yeah.
And that's the we lens. Yeah. Okay. What are we? And then imagine this in everything. So you have a 10-year-old boy who's the son who's like on his PS5 for all day long, and the parent is irate, and you help the family say, okay, how are we going to do this? What do we want to do, given that the son wants to be playing PS5 for 10 hours a day and the parent wants the son to not be playing all day long? Now, what do we do? You can bring that into couples work. Okay, we're stuck. We're having the same old argument we always have. Now, what do we want to do? So I help my clients develop that capacity, those muscles, to be able to ask those kinds of questions in the moment.
Right. You know, that PS5 could be, no, I mean, now that I can think, it could be a part of loneliness that kid has observed. Because if everybody has their own way of doing certain things, not caring about this kid, just, you know, giving him or her that particular device to work on. Of course, I mean, there's certain thing that he might want to do. He might want to go to the park, but, you know, maybe the parents didn't take him there, or like, you know, do anything kind of like social activities outside the home, whatever.
Yeah.
Then, you know, maybe he's finding that he's trying to kill his loneliness there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Engaging himself into those. Let's talk a little bit about coaching practice or coaching career. If somebody wants to follow your footsteps, if somebody wants to become a coach like you, now everybody's different, but in this particular scenario, what are the qualities do you think are essential who are considering a career in coaching?
Well, that's a great question. I think the number one thing is a willingness to grow oneself. In my experience, there are people who want to become coaches because they're very caring people and they want to help others. and that is what we do. And because coaching is so grounded in co-creation and not knowing and creating with what's emerging, with the output being growth and transformation, very different than being a therapist. A therapist can tell clients what's really going on for them. Coaches don't. We have to co-create. It's really process oriented, a real journey. So that means that we as coaches have to be more advanced than our clients in being in process. And being in process requires us to be open to continuous growth ourselves, growth emotionally, being vulnerable, taking risks. We have to continuously work at that so that we can help our clients do that. So that's a very important toolkit. We're helping our clients go beyond themselves. So we have to also have experientially done that and continue to do it.
Talking about helping people growing their coaching and coaching practice and their businesses and all this.
Mm-hmm.
What advice you have for those emerging coaches who just got into this profession and
Mm-hmm.
looking for their clients? What sort of advice? This is very important, is because a lot of people, they go into the coaching business, but eventually when they realize that I'm not making, money, whatever, I don't have no clients, then there is a tendency that these individuals quit.
Yes.
And the reason these things are important is because just to become a coach, you have to sign up for some kind of school, the coaching school, the training school, the college itself. You have to invest your time and money. And, given the fact that people try to spend anywhere from like $5,000 to, I've seen $15,000, $20,000 schools as well, just to get the coaching, just to get the PCC, MCC, that kind of thing. PCC, I would say, MCC, it's another monumental thing. But for PCC, that kind of, now, when they don't have no clients, then, the survival is a question there, right? Should I just wait for the clients to come in or quit and that kind of thing? So in your experience, what advice you have for those coaches who just started their journey?
And this is true for my journey as well. Go with what's around you. And by that, I mean, when I started out, I went to friends and family and said to them, who can you refer to me? And people opened these different doors for me. And then I walked through them and started up a client base, small one. I mean, this is mostly a referral business. So it takes time to build up your client base. When I started my first I started out with a 4-week short-term group, a life development group. And I had 2 or 3 individual clients. And then I went to my dearest friends who've also been in a life development group over the years, with the founders of Social Therapeutics. And I asked one of them to join the group for 4 weeks. Well, one of them agreed to do it. So I started a group, my first ever group post, in my older adult life, with some couple of clients and somebody in the group that I could lean on, that I could kind of trust would have my back and keep an eye on what's best for the group. And that's how I started. And then others had, those people having the experience of being in group referred other people to me. And some people in group I started doing couples work with, or that's how I expanded into family work by working with what's in front of me. And it takes guts and it's hard, and you're inviting people to help you. And again, in our individualistic culture where we're supposed to figure it out all by ourselves, we're not very good at asking others for help. Emotionally or socially or businessly. But we can. And you go to people and say, hey, I'm starting this thing. Would you support me? Would you do this? Would you do that? Could you do this? And some people will and some people won't. And that's fine. It's not a statement on you. Different people can give different things at different times. And you go with what is there. You don't linger on what isn't there or what you wish were there. You got to go with what's there and keep going. And of course, the other thing is doing group work. And as I'm sharing with you, and the people that I train are, interested on the two levels of the innovation of the method, but also the sustainable income in creating ongoing groups.
Yeah. I mean, for those, if you're listening to this, right? I mean, I've been there, I've done it. I mean, personally, I'm talking about it. I didn't know what coaching was, and somebody told me about the coaching. That's why I started to spend money and going into the coaching. And then later on, I mean, I was really having a hard time in getting clients. These days, you have social media. I mean, it's a powerful tool. So, employee.
It is a powerful tool, but I think you have to throw a lot of money into it and have like expert razor sharp messaging to build that way. The way most of us build is through our networks and through referral.
Right. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. For those people who do not have a big network, right, who is very shy in building this kind of network, I've seen like whenever I go in certain event, I've seen some people, they don't even talk at all. They're just there, I mean, for some reason. And, there's no social interaction whatsoever. So that introvertness is really killing people that, whatever the message that you have, people are not going to hear it until you talk. Nobody knows what you're going to say or, what you are. If I may ask you this, that you've been doing this for ages, what keeps you going?
My clients and my trainees. They're the ones who keep me going. We did a group last night and different group members were appreciating each other's growth. Like really appreciating, oh my, you used to be more like this in group and now you're like this. Now you're our spiritual leader in the group and you used to, be this way and now you're opening up the possibility of enriching your life and transforming and having more joy and happiness and all of that. And the growth in the coaches that I train in that those moments where they shift from the me lens to the we lens. It's to me, it's really when people exercise their power to create with others, to go beyond themselves, to make meaning together. I feel very, very passionate about that's what the world needs. And so when I experience that with my clients and trainees, that's what keeps me going. Because I want everyone in the world to be able to have this methodology, to be in a life development group or to lead life development groups, to reignite all of our development, our capacity to continue to create our lives and our relationships and our communities.
Thanks for that insight. Can you also talk a little bit about the training that you provide for the coaches, please?
I have a range of trainings from one-off trainings where any kind of coach might want to drop in and learn about asking relational questions, to fully immersive training, 60 hours, fully certified as a social therapeutic coach, able to lead life development groups, and lots of stuff in between. And weekend intensive. I have a drop-in supervision, so any coach could come in. We do this once, second Friday of the month, and talk about whatever client issue they're having, and then we'll reframe it through the social therapeutic lens. I have some videos that are recorded, which are on my website at groupandcouplescoaching.com. So it's really, I've tried to design this so that anyone who's interested in this we lens can come in and experience it for the range and depth of it that they would like.
Thanks, Carrie, for that information. We've come towards the end of this show. Any final thoughts?
Well, I think that one of the biggest challenges we all face right now are our inner loops, the ways that we talk to ourselves about ourselves. That's the thing that I challenge in social therapeutic coaching. We have to get out of that inner loop, because that inner loop is driving loneliness. It's driving social anxiety. So the tools in the social therapeutic coaching toolbox help clients bust out of that inner loop and become creators with others of new kinds of conversations, new kinds of relationships. And I think we all need it.
Yeah. Carrie, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Pravin. It's been great.
That was Carrie Sackett in conversation with Pravin Sharma at Inside Ignite Coaching's Coaching Voices podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with Carrie, please send an email to her at info@groupandcouplescoaching.com. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Coaching Voices podcast. I hope today's conversation gave you valuable insights into the world of coaching and leadership. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps others find the show and supports us in continuing to bring you inspiring content. Do not forget to share this episode with anyone you think might benefit from the discussion. And if you're looking to explore coaching further or have any questions, please feel free to connect with us. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep growing, keep leading, and stay curious.